My fifth episode of Nomadic Demographic, and I'm William Deshane. Today's topic, we're going to talk about politics. I mean, pretty much how can we not? Almost every aspect of our lives in America now is controlled in some way or led by legislation passed by our government. Whether that be at the state level, federal level, or local level. Everything from education to health to what you eat to what you own. There are laws in effect, and these laws pretty much dictate your life. We now have a new commander-in-chief, and a lot of Americans don't agree with his policies, procedures, or who he is as a person, but I hope maybe this will reach him in his Oval Office, because there has been a problem that I think maybe he can change, that people forget. What I mean by that is right now we have so much legislation, so much red tape around what it means to be American. Everything that we used to hold private, dear, etc., from what our health records say to where we live to what we do, to what we like as hobbies, is now someone else's business. It's governmental business, CIA, FBI, TSA, NSA, you name it. To top it off, we are now at a point where there's things like civil asset forfeiture, the Freedom Act, and other legislation that goes against everything that America has ever stood for. Mr. Trump, if you do see this video, I'm going to ask you to don't put any more legislation in, because chances are you're probably going to get a riot, a bad crowd, or someone else who does not agree with you, and they're going to cause civil disobedience. They're going to loot, right, you name it, or they're just going to be anti-Trump altogether. There's still those people who claim you're not the commander-in-chief or you're not their president. I didn't vote for you. I didn't vote against you. What I'm going to tell you is, coming from someone who's a nobody. I served 5 years in the Marine Corps. I did my time. I got out. I don't partake in politics. I don't believe our government actually works the way it's supposed to. Never does, never will. But if this does reach you, I'm going to ask you to stop making legislation that is going to affront what people can do. Instead, try removing legislation that can be abused. What I mean by that is our ATF during the Obama administration gave weapons to both the Mexican government and the drug cartel, which, let's be honest, that probably caused people to try to come here. Your wall, as much as everyone would love another Great Wall of China or America or whoever, it's not going to work. What I mean by that is, since 2006, we have had 13 tunnels built from Mexico to California and other places along the southern border. A wall is not going to stop them. It won't work. They'll come by land, air, sea, you name it. It will never work. I'm not saying you're not trying. I'm not saying it's a good idea, but I say we need to critique our legislation before we even impose any more. The fact that we have more officers, police officers, who are worried about traffic stops and drug abuses than we are about rapists, killers, murderers, thieves, robbers. That says a lot about our country. I'm not saying that all of this is at the federal level. I'm saying that in all regards, well, you're saying that can be used for something better. It could change the world. Now, I don't mean to tell you, hey, signing the executive order on the North Dakota pipeline was right or wrong. What I am going to tell you is, from a security standpoint, that terrorists can see that as a potential site to bomb. Oil is flammable. They've already had explosions in the past. To top it off, if they're going to put it underneath the river, they're probably going to have another Flint, Michigan crisis or similar to that, where you have another state that cannot fix its water. The governor is not going to go there and he's not going to fix it. On top of that, the companies that are putting up and fronting the money to build this thing are not going to pay for any damage that will occur in the future. It won't happen. Flint, Michigan still hasn't had their water fixed. Since you've ran a business before, tell me, when someone wastes $20,000 on a microwave, how do you feel? That is currently what our government is doing. $8,000 for a bolt, for a plane. It happens. We don't even audit our feds. You want to change America for better? Okay. Audit the feds. Sign an executive order. Basically has people go through, by the books. There has to be an accounting book, review board, everything else. Because right now, we're only going to put ourselves in more debt. We're in 70% of the world with our military. We are the world police. We have many public enemies that are going to say that we are their number one target. They can attack our stock market. They can attack our water sources, our food sources. They can attack our lines of communication, whether it be internet or cell phones or satellites. We are so dependent on the technology that we use in our everyday that we forget how vulnerable we're making ourselves. Putting more legislation around isn't going to help anyone. In fact, criminals don't care what you write on a piece of paper. Terrorists don't care what you write on a piece of paper. You know this. You've dealt with people in the past you didn't agree with. Everyone has an enemy. If someone doesn't like you, there's probably a good reason. But if you don't have enemies, you probably don't stand for anything at the same time. The other thing is we are so divided into our demographics as Americans. We need to remember individualism. We need to treat people like individuals based off their own actions. Shouldn't punish everyone just because they fall into a race, a minority, or a gender, or anything like that. Now, passing more legislation, yeah, you're going to run into a lot of riots. I say that because as much as the media does not like to proclaim, we've had a bunch of riots in the past 5 years. I mean, Portland, Seattle, California, New York, you name it, we've had it. A lot of people don't hear about it. A lot of people don't hear about the marches or the protests or anything like that. You're only going to get more of that based off what laws we pass. I'm hoping that as a commander-in-chief, you don't jump the gun. What I mean by that is before you sign a new piece of legislation or executive orders, I want you to think about how it would have affected you 8 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. At the same time, how it affects every American. If there is a way someone can abuse it. 2, there's a reason why it doesn't fit all minorities. Or 3, if there is any reason in the future that it could be bad, then find a new way to make another executive order, or don't pass that executive order, or veto those bills, because you're going to be saving yourself and America a lot of time, money, everything else. Yeah, is America perfect? No. You're walking into a huge mess. But I'm not going to blame this on Obama or Congress or the administration before his or anyone else. Putting blame on people isn't going to help. Figuring out what the actual problems are, figuring out the correct way to solve them, that's what we need to do. Well, for the rest of you who stumble across this video or watch it, or I don't know exactly who all the demographic is who's watching this. So for all those individuals, thank you for watching this far. I got 15 seconds. This nomadic demographic. I'm William Deshane. Like, subscribe, leave a comment. Enjoy.